It will. It will, in fact. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Chop Sports Daily, coming to you live from the Flipping Made Easy studio right here in Manawan, New Jersey. It is Sturch. It is Gooch. It is Wrestling Rob. The all of a sudden surging Twitter account, Wrestling Rob. Get over there and follow Wrestling Rob on Twitter right now. We're trying to grow that bitch. Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's good. It's a feel-good fantasy football Friday. And it's always good when we start talking fantasy because it gets you in the mood. I'm actually starting to do some draft dates, trying to get some mocks. I got to pull the order of my draft, but I'm still waiting for a confirmation. Imagine, Evan. Imagine being Evan and saying like, oh, I can't make that day. It's such and such as christening. And I'm like, I mean, the majority of the league is already kind of like on board. And then he's like, oh, wait, I might have the date wrong. Like, how do you get that wrong? If it's a christening?
You're waiting for him to confirm the date before you do the draft order?
Well, because I don't know if he's in it. I might have to replace him, is what I'm saying. And I would bring you in, but it's archaic and you probably wouldn't, like it or dominate.
I have a hard time doing that.
Okay. Well, I have we'll get guys on deck. Later. But anyway, good morning, everybody. I hope everybody's doing well. Like I mentioned before, it is a feel-good Friday. Lots to go over. If you want to support Chop Sports, do so by heading on over to patreon.com/Chop Sports. That's how to support the show. You can leave also tips within YouTube. That is a greatly appreciated thing. Tip your bartenders. We're serving you up some knowledge. Tip us in the chat. So you can do that as
money.
Well. Yeah, seriously. We're broke. Anyway. We got a lot of things going on over here today. As a matter of fact, it is now time for Gooch's rundown. There's plenty to get into.
Yes. So today, obviously, we have a little bit of a trade deadline special. I know the trade deadline is Tuesday. We thought it was Sunday all week, but it is, in fact, Tuesday. But nonetheless, there's going to be a lot of action going on over the weekend, and it's Friday, so we'll talk about what we think may or may not happen for that matter. So on to the NFL. DK Metcalf signs a 3-year extension with the Seattle Seahawks worth around $24 million a year. I think it's $58 million guaranteed.
He's
I think
right
it's
on par with everybody.
With everybody else. Interesting that it's not a 4-year deal, and DK opts to take free agency at age 27. So odds are he's traded at 26. So Dave, get in line. Cowboys, 26-year-old DK. You're gonna have to give up 2 firsts and a player.
No way.
So keeping it in Seattle, Jamal Adams has some strong concerns over his lingering hand injury, and he is out indefinitely, going to see a specialist. So no surprise there.
Jamal Adams, he can't catch
Jamal Adams and DK are about the only name value players on the Seahawks roster right now, and they're in the news. So one is good, one is bad, but Jamal Adams, is he even that good? I don't think
That's
so.
why Joe Douglas is a G over in New York Jets.
Keeping it in the injury front. Tampa Bay's starting center Ryan Jensen suffered what the team believes to be a season-ending knee injury in the second day of minicamp yesterday. It has a little bit of fantasy implications, and I say that because it is Fantasy Friday, because obviously, Leonard Fournette, maybe some of these other guys might take a small hit with one of their starting linemen out, but see how that plays out. Some veteran defensive players were signed yesterday. Carlos Dunlap signs with the Chiefs. That gives him a little veteran help to get after the passer. I'm not so sure it's going to exactly alleviate their pass rush issues, but it is an upgrade from what they had. It is no Melvin Ingram, though. And another veteran defender signs with the Jets. Quan Alexander reunites with Robert Saleh. Quan Alexander has been kicked around the league a few times over the past couple of years, dealt with some injuries, but he's only about 2 or 3 years removed from a Pro Bowl season, so we'll see if he could find anything left in the tank. Kyler Murray had some words to say about the public bashing his contract clause, saying it's actually disrespectful to think that he doesn't prepare for games. I find it agreeable. I think it's more disrespectful for the team to put that in there because it should be understood.
It just got out. Well, that's the problem.
I don't think it's a standard operating procedure to put a study clause in contracts.
It might if he's not a good studier of film.
And to me, I'm not really going to sign a guy to a $230 million extension if I feel that I may have to call his character into question if he's a starting quarterback in my team. So it's a little odd. And while you would expect everything bad to have been brushed under the rug with this signing, there's still a little bit of friction between Kyler and the front office, I would imagine. That said, they removed the clause from the contract because Kyler cried his way. No, it is what it is.
Okay.
I think it goes without saying that these guys all put in 4 hours. 4 hours is like the minimum that you would have to put in for a week.
Supposed to be
it's
looking
your job.
At this shit every day.
It's your job. Yes.
You're talking about 4 hours. It's not study hall.
To my point and to his point, I think it is a little ridiculous because it's just calling everything into question. I think they could have those conversations behind closed doors. Anyway, speaking of contract clauses, moving over to the hardwood in the NBA, Zion Williamson just re-signed or re-upped with the Pelicans and an extension, and there is a weight clause in the contract, and people are now going out and bashing Zion for his weight clause. Now,
what's the weight? Is there a limit?
295. So Zion can't ever come in over 295. Last year, he came in at around 300 pounds.
But what's the penalty?
The penalty is he could lose some of his guaranteed money. Same deal with Kyler was that you could lose.
You should probably go address Jimmy Palumbo for weight loss advice.
So look, everybody is coming out and saying that, it's ridiculous. Or a few people are saying, and when I say a few people, I mean, Kyle came out and said, people are bashing Zion's weight clause. He doesn't realize that people don't realize that this is like a standard operating procedure for pro athletes. And it's not really a standard operating procedure for study clauses in contracts, but the weight clause definitely is. But the one common thread, the common denominator in all of these weight clause situations is that the player is typically a fat slob, right? So Zion, you're a fat bastard. You can't come in over 300 pounds. And to me, that's protecting your investment. Weight issues in the NBA, I think, are equally as big as a character issue in the NFL playing quarterback.
Not comparing the two. Remember Big Baby?
Yes, of course.
He was like 420 pounds.
Yeah, but he wasn't seeking max deals.
He's also not Zion. I get that.
Seeking max deals.
I'm just thinking of fat players in the NBA.
Speaking of max contracts and max deals, Draymond Green is expecting to get a max contract from Golden State. Golden State is saying, you might want to go find that somewhere else because I don't think that Draymond is worth the max. He's what did Barkley call him? A single triple. You average 8, 8, and 8. That's not going to get you a max contract. While I do think Draymond has played a key role in all of the success that Golden State has managed to have over the course of the last, half decade plus, he is not a max player. And they're looking at Andrew Wiggins. They're looking at Jordan Poole. There's not 5 max contracts to be going out on one team. And I'm sorry, but Draymond, it ain't going to be yours.
But wait,
bro.
didn't you say something yesterday, Rob, about Curry saying we're a package deal? All of a sudden, the friction between Curry and Golden State.
I wonder if Curry and Klay Thompson are such a package deal that they're going to restructure their max deals.
Probably not.
To bring Draymond back and get that max contract.
No way.
I'm highly doubting that. It is a business, and where's Draymond going to end up? That's the next topic for next season. So moving past my rundown because it is over. Back to you, Dave.
Just a couple comments based off of what I've seen. Kyle's here. Good morning to Kyle and the Sauce, who, by the way, we're talking about weight issues. He was at the gym yesterday, so Kyle's putting in the work. But he said there's a 295 weight and body fat percentage clause. So you can't be a sloppy, putty 285. You know what I mean? Like,
but what if he's doing windmill yams on people's heads at 298?
Don't matter. It don't matter.
That guaranteed money. Look, if he's averaging 28 and 9 and he's 299, I guarantee you that they guarantee him that money.
Stevie Mac coming in saying they gave him the Eddie Lacy deal.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Let's talk about Kyler for a second. Do you think that's more of a Cliff Kingsbury thing or more of a front office thing? How do you think that came about?
I don't think that Cliff Kingsbury has the clout.
No, but
in the NFL circles,
Kingsbury could go to the front office and say, "Look, that's great. We locked him up. But can you make sure this guy studies a little bit?"
I think, if anything, the player-coach relationship in this situation, Kingsbury laid it all on the line. He was like, "We're drafting Kyler." That was his. I agree. He said, "I want Kyler." They have a relationship prior to,
and they shipped out that gem of a quarterback, Josh Rosen.
When Kingsbury was recruiting him, they took a liking to each other. He ended up not coaching him in college, but the relationship stayed the same. And it was like Kingsbury's thing, like, yo, you could hire me, but we're drafting Kyler. And I think that might be blown out of proportion a little bit, but they may have gone to Kingsbury and said, here's what we're going to do. And he said, look, that's your guys' deal. And he didn't really stop it. But could we talk about Kingsbury for a second? Just a second. I saw a graphic yesterday. Yesterday where it was over his last 7 seasons of coaching through the first 5 weeks or the first 7 weeks.
Oh, he crushes it.
Yeah. His win percentage is like 800. And this is ranking back through college and NFL. Right. And then you see him down the stretch in weeks 9 through whatever, whether it be 9 through 12 or 9 through 17 or 18.
It's tough sledding. Have you seen Kyler's numbers?
His win percentage is like 300%.
It's like almost as if like
something.
It's
wild.
almost as if they get tired of doing things.
He just doesn't have it down the stretch.
Come Halloween, they're like, you know what? I don't want to do this anymore. Like the season's over, man. Let's pack it in. But look, they got a lot of issues over there in Arizona right now, man. A lot of issues. And the fact that this clause got removed, I made a tweet yesterday calling Kyler Murray a bitch. And, James Rube, social media James Rube came in and was like, that's not what happened. Because I said, he went, well, I don't want to study. And the Cardinals were like, okay, Kyler, like treating him like a fucking infant.
I'm wondering if James Rube still thinks Gallo is going to break out this year.
Did he say that?
Yeah, remember we were at the fucking Rangers?
Oh my God,
the Knicks Sixers.
I wish we had that on film because I would just replay that over and over again. But no, he said like he got on my case and said that's not how it happened. And I'm saying like, what?
50,
in my mind, I'm like
50 dingers. He doesn't even have.
But in my mind,
hits.
I'm like, wait a minute, hold on, like
hits.
By dingers, you meant hits?
Yeah. Well, no, Judge has more home runs than Gallo has hits in 2022. But he's like, that's not how it went down. First of all, how do you know how it went down? It simply went down. Here's the timeline. Kyler signs the extension. The leak gets out about the clause in the contract. Kyler bitches about it and says he's feeling disrespected because he's a fucking 2022 crybaby. And then, of course, the Cardinals were like, all right, you know what? Here, we'll take it out. We'll take it out. We trust you, bro. And then all is well. No, all is not well because now the security that the Cardinals did have is gone. Now he doesn't have to study. He doesn't have to do anything. You can find out because he's going to scamper his little legs around. He's going to run around. He's going to, what an electrifying player. No, it's a broken play because you didn't know the fucking play, Kyler. So
hopefully Kyler studies.
He sucks.
Did you guys see
whatever? Kyler sucks. Most overpaid quarterback in football right now is Kyler Murray.
Did you see who Pete Carroll said is the front runner for the Seattle quarterback?
Geno Smith. It better be.
He did say,
but did you see the video of my man Drew Lock? Like lacing him yesterday. I'm talking, that Nets thing.
But was there did he have to like make a decision, or was it like throw the ball through right there?
Yeah, put that in that net, and he was like,
Did he have to go? Did he have to go through his progressions? Was
no progressions at all. It was just accuracy drill, and he smoked it.
I could do well on that.
Shout out to my boy Drew Lock, starter of the Seattle Seahawks.
Young is going to be sidelined the first couple of weeks, according to Ron Rivera.
Of the regular season.
Would you like to bet who wins that quarterback job?
No, because I would lean towards Geno.
All right,
I would. I would lean towards Geno. That's not a mistake.
When Russ got hurt last year, Geno did a good job for a really bad Seattle team.
My boy Greg texted me yesterday. I guess he just learned about the DK extension. He's like, "Who's throwing him the ball? Pete Carroll?" I was like, "Yeah, probably." I was like, "No. You put some respect on the legend that is Geno Smith." But yeah. So anyway, that's all that. Let's get into some baseball trade rumors as the trade deadline is almost up. You can talk about this till you're blue in the face. We don't know where people are going to go, but there's rumors that are swirling right now. And here is the latest. You can get rid of the Jumbotron because, just in case I want to edit this later. Anyway, so you look at many teams that are involved in a lot of these big name guys. And believe it or not, there's a lot of big name guys out there that are being rumored to be in the trade market, in that little bit of a trade pool. Everybody knows about the main one, which is Juan Soto. For me, out of nowhere, like I'm just like, maybe he just doesn't get dealt this year.
He's getting dealt.
You think he's got 3 more days with the Nationals and eventually he's going to be on somebody else's team? I just feel like there's too many players in this thing right now. The last one I read was the Cardinals. I read the Cardinals are heavy into this because Goldschmidt's only contracted through 2024.
Yeah, no, the Cardinals were early front runner.
But I'm saying, imagine that, and they're saying like what a run it would be for Pujols to get into a playoff run because all of a sudden Juan Soto's injected into your lineup.
I would say that the Cardinals are primed for a playoff run regardless right now, the way they're playing.
But I'm saying,
but if they
imagine having Soto, right? Then the Dodgers, because they get everybody. But I think if I had to make a prediction, and that's what we're doing here today. If Soto is moved, he's not coming to the Yankees. I think the Benintendi deal the trade there kind of deads that. The Mets right now, I'm trying to figure out. They made a deal yesterday or 2 days ago.
Tyler Naquin.
Yeah, and Philip Deal from Cincinnati. So they get some outfield and pen help. But like what I'm thinking is this. Will the Mets have a star to trade to the Nationals? Because it's not going to take – their minor league system right now is Francisco Alvarez. He's probably the number 1 prospect catcher in baseball right now, from what I've read. So that's what it would take, plus other shit. You can't imagine that the Nationals are like, yeah, just give us your catcher and we'll give you Juan Soto. There's got to be a star involved. So that makes me believe, and I'm not bashing the Mets here, but do the Mets have a star that that's expendable right now? They could just ship off for Juan Soto.
No.
They don't.
The Mets have a decent farm system though. They could definitely package a deal together, but can they package the best deal? The Mets can put together a deal that is warranting a Juan Soto trade. The thing is, it's not going to come down to what the Mets can give. It's going to come down to, can the Mets give better than what the Cardinals or the Padres?
Correct.
And
that's why I think
that question
I just don't.
No way.
I don't see it. I like, unless there is a couple names on the Mets roster that have been linked to trading, like Dom Smith, but I'm like, that's not moving the needle for me for Juan Soto.
I'll give you Joey Gallo.
That's it. Done. Deal. Do it. But like, and Joey Gallo is obviously on that trade list, but I don't know who the hell would, in their right mind, take on Joey Gallo right now. And that contract.
Gun to my head right now, I say Juan Soto stays in the NL, and he either goes to the Braves, the Cardinals,
the Mets
or the
would
Padres.
Have a shit fit if Juan
the
Soto
Braves,
goes to
Cards,
the Braves.
or Pods.
Seeing the Padres are front runners like every day. That's what you see.
Like, imagine that team is
so
young.
That's my prediction.
And
my prediction right now is to narrow that down. I do have a feeling that Monday we're going to also be able to talk about where Juan Soto is going to land. We'll get a little more details. Maybe some of these other teams will be bowing out of the race with other trades. You know, there is a decent amount of outfielders still available. Ian Happ is a good consolation.
I have a list here. Yeah,
Robbie Grossman is a decent consolation. There's some guys out there.
Yeah. So as far as the Soto deal, we're not going to know because, again, this weekend will maybe say a lot. We'll know more on Sunday if for whatever reason he's not in the lineup. You know what I mean? Like, those are the key indicators that, all right, you're on your way out. My prediction right now is that he stays put for the year. I don't know. I think there's too many names in this hat right now for the Nationals to make a decision.
Well, no,
now.
But they're getting offers. They're getting legitimate, bona fide offers.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it might be too much, and they can be like, we can get even more if this guy balls out for the rest of the year and do it in the offseason. We're only 2 months away from the offseason, believe it or not. There's August, September, all of a sudden World Series. And
I don't know. Look, here's my point when it comes to that. They owe him about $10 million more this year that they don't want to pay because they're out of it. So the haul is going to be the same. Even if he balls out for the next month and a half, how much more could he raise his stock? He's 23.
It's ultimately high right now. Yeah.
If anything, you're going to have some guys that are a little less eager because there's not a World Series dangling in the balance. Right now, you have teams that are desperate to make a run because they're right there. They're poised. The whole weight, I just don't see it. It's a $10 million mistake, and the value isn't going to necessarily be higher guaranteed. You might even get worse. There might be a few more teams that are out because they made their deal this trade deadline. So I think you got to strike now while the iron's hot. There's 2 years of control, right?
Mm-hmm.
The rest of this season. So I think it makes sense. Whether it be 2 years or 1 year, nonetheless, right now you get him for the rest of this season. So his value is there for that.
I am all for Tony Benevento's suggestion today. Gallo for a brand new washing machine. I mean, they're making really nice washing machines nowadays. So I would definitely do that. Florida Mike, Hawaii Mike, whatever Mike we want to call him at this point. Teams will always trade more for when the World Series is attainable. It's much more attainable than the offseason. I agree. But I feel like it's getting cluttered right now. So maybe this weekend they sit just like you said, some teams are like, you know what, fuck this. I can't afford this shit. Like,
so
you know what I mean? Like,
it's getting cluttered as far as the mainstream media is concerned. But as far as the Nats go, they could be like, yeah, there's 13 teams interested. There's about 2 or 3 offers that we're taking serious because everyone else throws their name in the hat for public perception and to appease their fan base. Like, you can't be a Yankees fan and have the front office not say, yeah, we're in on Soto, because you'll be like, what the fuck? The Yankees didn't even try for Soto. So they tried for Soto. They weren't ever in on Soto.
Due diligence is the name of the game. Castillo.
You know where I think he's going. I think the Yankees are willing to give the most for Castillo. I really do. The Dodgers and the Mets are up there, but the Yankees right now they might have to part with their top 2 prospects.
Did you see the play that Volpe made last night, by the way, in Somerset? Oh, my God.
But I think
he could be the guy. He could be the future shortstop of the Yankees, man. I don't know.
Yeah, they're going to have to give up both of them because of the amount of other teams that are involved. He's by far the best pitcher at the deadline right now.
Yeah,
there is other arms out there, but nothing like, Frankie Montas I think is like a significant drop below Castillo.
Well, that seems to be option number 2 for the Yankees is Montas, and then after that, I believe there's somebody from Pittsburgh that they're thinking, and like in typical Yankee form. Like that'll be the
Pablo
guy.
Lopez is in. They're talking about.
I mean, there's other guys on this trade. Look, and I'll get into it in a second. But anyway, Castillo, he's been linked to a couple teams. Seattle is one of them, actually, because of the fact that imagine, their pitching rotation already, and then you add a Castillo, they can really run away or at least get into the postseason. I mean, they're chasing the Astros for the rest of the year, no matter what, but that would kind of slide them right into a wild card spot, no matter what. So that's an interesting one. Wilson Contreras has been linked to the Mets heavily. But like I said, for the Mets to land somebody very big, they're going to have to part ways with their number one prospect. I don't think there's a question about it.
I think if there's something for the Mets to do, that kind of points me in that direction. Why not trade your catching prospect for a catcher, right? An all-star catcher. I think that works out perfect. But what I was reading about Contreras is that a lot of teams are a little worried about how he'll mesh with the pitching staff. Supposedly he's like a dick, and pitchers don't like dealing with him. So bringing him into
New York,
a stretch run with some personalities with, Max Scherzer, most importantly, we'll see how that meshes.
We'll see
if they make the trade. But Contreras, Ian Happ, they're both on the move too.
Do you think we live in a world right now that by Tuesday morning or afternoon, whenever the hell the deadline is actually set in place, is Shohei Ohtani anywhere else?
No,
that's not going to happen, right? Like that's
maybe they really are serious about taking offers, but I think one of the GMs that spoke to the Angels, and he's anonymous, of course, said that it's taking here's what they're asking, and I quote because I might have it here. Oh, it's down there. But yeah, it says they want their top 4 prospects and possibly a player, like a major league player. So 4 of your best prospects and a major league ready player. I don't know about all that.
Ibby and Rube are both coming in, both Mets fans. And Ibby has a brand new episode of Till Mets Do Us Part. They're back, so be sure to check in with them and Saponaro on the Chop Sports Podcast Network. So Alvarez isn't going anywhere unless it's for Soto or Ohtani. So that's a thing. I would assume that he has the connects or knows the right writers to agree to that, to say okay, this is the guy. He's the future of the franchise. And we'd move him, but it's got to be for a goddamn superstar like Soto or Ohtani.
Yeah. So,
and Rube saying that it's not going to take Alvarez to get a Wilson Contreras.
And I believe it. Look, we just got Benintendi for a bag of balls as well. So I could see that happening. It really comes down to, and this lends to the point that Rube is talking about, because there's trepidation by other teams. The Cubs are really in a tough spot here because the only real market is going to be created by the competition, because everybody knows the Cubs want to come off of these contracts. So their leverage is gone in the trade. The leverage has to be created with a trade market. If there's teams bowing out for this reason or that, then the haul that you're going to get is less. So he might be right on the Contreras thing for sure.
Yeah, he says Mauricio, Dom Smith, and a lower end prospect for Contreras and Robertson. Stay the fuck away from David Robertson. I want.
And that's
David
another
Robertson.
thing too. A willingness. The biggest bargaining chip that teams could have, even in the Soto trade, is going to be also a willingness to take on a Josh Bell contract. So you actually get 2 players if you're willing to pay the money, and that alleviates you having to give up a ton of farm system prospects. So the Mets will spend money too, and a willingness to take on the full contract. That's a big bargaining chip in the trade deadline.
They'd be coming back. Rentals aren't getting big time prospects. So if they're only going to be there for a year, you're not going to get the farm system in order to acquire this talent. So. But looking at all of these guys that are the big name guys, like a Castillo, they're all kind of rentals. You got to give them the payday eventually.
We say that, Ibby, that rentals aren't, but and I'm not here to bash the Mets, but typically what they've done in years past is they would trade their best prospect for a rental.
Uncle Steve,
and
now,
there has been teams, and there will be a team at this deadline that trades their best prospect for a rental. It happens every year, and it's not necessarily the right move, but it does happen.
Why does a team like the Orioles, who are red hot right now, want to get rid of a guy like Trey Mancini?
Because right
now they'll get their most for
while
him.
They're red hot, there is no real potential even to make the postseason. There is, but they're in 5th place in their own division. There's a lot of teams that they have to jump, right? Or did they pass Toronto?
No,
I think Baltimore.
Boston's in last.
Boston's in last.
Wow,
yeah, for sure.
I
saw yesterday.
Feel good Friday. Boston Red Sox last.
I don't think
place.
it's a real feasible thing for you to look at the makeup of that
call
team
yesterday after
and think that you're going to make a World Series run right now. It's like having to really do a internal revenue thing and say, you know what, we don't have it. This money isn't worth it, and we could get something for him now.
Names.
Honestly, what could they even get?
I don't know. You said Josh Bell before, so that kind of clicked on him.
They're
Ian
50 and
Happ.
49 right now. They're 3 games behind Tampa Bay and 5 games behind Toronto.
Yeah, so that's tough sledding. I mean, look,
then
everybody,
West,
it's a feel-good story right now.
West has Seattle. There's some teams that are.
But remember,
Seattle's
there's an extra
54 and
playoff team this
46,
year.
and then below them, it's 40. Texas is 44.
I mean, look, I don't want to see him because I just, again, one of those things where I'm just like, I don't want to see the most red-hot team in the playoffs, but it would be a cool story for the Baltimore Orioles to make the playoffs.
I would love it.
Of course.
If we get the 1 seed and they're the wild
This is coming
card.
from the same guy who wanted to play the Red Sox last year.
Yeah, so who do you want to play, Dave?
Nobody. I want a bye to the finals. I want a bye to the World Series.
The MLB
Shut the fuck
finals.
up. You know what I meant. You know what the fuck I meant. Don't even be a jerk off. So Ian Happ, another name
How
out
many
there.
quarters do they play in the?
Kyle's coming in saying the Orioles kind of cooled down.
Yeah, they have.
Numbers are
They
down.
have.
Bullpen coming back down to earth.
Yeah, no, they have. They're 5-5 and 10, and
It was like a perfect timing for the trade deadline to be like, look, guys,
don't trade the fucking Trey
don't
Mancini
get
right
crazy
now.
here. Don't get crazy. You are not a contender.
Yeah, but in any event, other names to know to think about. We talked about Gallo, Trey Mancini, Dom Smith. Names out of Boston. Christian Vasquez, all of a sudden, the catcher. So you want to upgrade your catcher? Like he's all right. He's another punchable face, but he's available for trade because the Boston Red Sox are completely just off the rails. JD Martinez is another name that I'm thinking like, okay, this can make more sense if he's shipping out of Boston. Instead of up to Boston. No. All right. Nelson Cruz, who's usually the biggest get for any team around August, so we'll see about what he does or if they move him. Nathan Eovaldi, also a name to keep your eye out for anybody needing pitching help. Same with David Robertson we mentioned before. Ready for this? Noah Syndergaard has popped up on some of the trade blocks that I'm reading. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, well, how fitting would that be? If Noah Syndergaard, Thor, came back to New York and pitched for the Yankees originally, do you remember all those trade rumors back in the day? Like, the DeGrom and Thor, like one of those guys going to New York, and then Syndergaard moves out to LA. He's having himself whatever
Imagine
year.
that Subway Series.
You're good without Thor.
World Series.
Now, let's just say we miss out on Castillo. We miss out on Montas. We miss out on all these guys because other people offered more. Would you kick the tires on a low-end deal for a Noah Syndergaard?
Yes.
All right. So
but like
that's
not
at this point.
I'm
not saying do it now.
He's going to get lit up in the fucking playoffs probably. So no.
More than likely. I mean, but look, what do you mean playoff? He hasn't even had what was it? The 2015 was his playoff run.
I'm good on.
He didn't have anything.
I'm good. That'll just be like a little bit worse than what we have in Severino.
Okay. I wonder though about Thor. I wonder if he'll be worried that he's going to run out of money when he retires. Because if he is, we got a guy for that. Michael Fusco, the Fusco Insurance Agency. He will help you. He'll explore using life insurance and annuities to help you build a more secure future so you can worry a little bit less right now. Call 718-701-5787 to schedule a complimentary consultation. 718-701-5787. Guarantees and protections are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company. Some insurance policies are not available in all states. Also, if you're a small business owner like myself and Gooch, you can also offer your customers some financing. Just have a 540 FICO score or above, starting at $300. Get involved with that with the PrestigeTaxFinancing.com/business financing. And of course, a big special shout out to our boys over at Dat Chat doing the damn thing with blockchain, NFTs, a brand new social media platform where you can't get banned. It's an amazing thing. You can do that. And of course, Hater Fantasy Sports.com. You're going to pay more attention to them. I have a call scheduled with him later on today to kind of shore up I got to write a script for a commercial. I've never done that before, but first time for everything. Gooch, take care of your taint on a Friday.
Yes. So make sure you scrub your balls before you shave them. So the manscaped.com offers a promo code from Chop Sports and you receive 20% off your entire order plus free shipping anywhere in the world. They have all the exfoliators. You wash your balls off first. Then you apply this cream.
You got a little spritzer, the crop
and then
preserver.
you have the crop shaver 2.0. So once you buzz it down, you could actually shave it with this like beautiful, bro. I know.
I just get nervous.
Seems terrifying.
It does.
It's like fucking silk. I'm
Okay.
telling you right now, it's like silk. You
I know what I'm doing on a Friday
You
night.
could even use it on your neck beard, Dave.
I don't have a neck beard anymore. I got a fresh and clean.
So head on over to
via
Manscaped.
my boy Diego.
Head on over to manscaped.com. Use the promo code ShopSports and you receive 20% off, like I said earlier.
All right.
So back to you, Dave.
Back to you, Skip. All right. Anyway, it is a feel-good fantasy football Friday. It's an open forum, guys. Open forum today. There's the Bills.
The Bills.
The Bills are going to win the division again. No big deal. It is a feel-good fantasy football Friday. We got an open forum, guys. There's a lot of things we want to discuss. As you get closer, we enter the month of August, and all of a sudden your mock drafts and your drafts are starting to be scheduled. Again, don't be the dick that does like before the preseason game one, you're like, hey, let's draft. Let's not do that. But you're going to have to start taking some notes. And I sure as shit have a couple questions for the apparent guru over here that might have a couple thoughts, and maybe some people in the chat as well have an answer for me. But yeah, so let's get it started here.
So we're gonna take it back to the basics for this one. I'm gonna try and avoid using players by name for draft purposes, but I might bring them up along the way. So it's 2022, and you've been asked to enter your very first fantasy football draft, and this is what you do next. That's what we're doing here.
Oh.
So for anybody that's been in fantasy football drafts and just ragtags it, this is for you as well. So first things first, you have to identify your draft strategy. And I know that sounds like, oh, what the fuck does that mean? Well, it means like go into it with a plan. You have to go into it with, am I going to draft best available? Am I going to go in running back heavy early? Am I going to punt on quarterback? There's a bunch of different strategies that you can employ, but I advise that you pick one and then you kind of stick to it. So going on to the next step, what I would do here is draft prep, bro. As we have identified your draft strategy, now you got to get into the draft prep. That goes into like ranking players. When you rank your players, you do it two ways. One way is you just rank them down the list and you say, all right, I'm going to go with this guy here. But then what you have to do, and I think it's super important that a lot of people don't do it, is you have to tier out these guys.
Started doing that last year because of
yes.
you.
So tiering out your players gives you an idea. It's like you lose. You might want a specific guy, but lose your love affair with that specific player if there's three other guys that you're like, you know what, they're the same player. I could probably move off of this position right now and take something that's a little more scarce. And it will maybe make you avoid your draft strategy a little bit, but you could always circle back and fix things later on, which leads me to the next point.
Don't smoke crack.
Definitely not crack. Weed, not so bad.
Right.
But I would say when you go into a draft, obviously, when you go into a draft, you do all the mock drafts and you kind of see where players are going to fall. Map out your first 5 to 7 rounds. Try and go into it with a direct plan and say, you know what? I do this every year, or in a specific draft, I map out first round, second round, and I write down my ideal situation. And then I write down, I'd be okay with this. And it helps with the tiers doing that. And then, like I said, it's not always going to go according to your plan, but it gives you a good idea where you're at around round 6. If you're like, you know what, it's all working out. And then you have the rest of the rounds to kind of just pick up on the best player available.
Question from the sauce real quick. Chris, are you still offering that fantasy football draft sheet with Sleepers Bust for Patreon members? I'm drafting in 4 weeks. Is that something of Patreon members can get involved with?
Yes, Kyle. That is being worked on as we do the fantasy thing. So I'm saving all my notes, and it's going to be a nice little bundle, a nice little thing that everybody's got. So yes, I do. Patreon members, there's a lot of things that are cool coming up on the horizon.
Yes.
I guess I'll use this as an opportunity
Go ahead.
to plug it. But we're doing a NFL autograph signed mini helmet break on Monday. So everybody's going to get a team. If you're a Patreon member, any of the Patreon members, it doesn't matter which tier you're on, you're going to receive a team, because I believe there's under 32, right? There's around 30 Patreon members.
There's
so we might have to
something,
finesse it a little bit, but everybody's going to get a team, and you're going to get a chance to win an autographed helmet. And that's something that we'll be doing at least once every couple weeks going forward throughout the football season,
cool,
as well as my draft prep and my picks.
Right.
So where was I? Oh yeah. Mapping out your first 5 to 7 rounds is always a good strategy. And then moving past that, you have to make sleeper lists, and you have to make like do not draft lists 100%. So identifying guys that have value later in rounds over a guy like a Zeke who has no value early in rounds. And I say this in jest partly, but you get a guy like Zeke that's going around the 3rd round, and then you have a guy like AJ Dillon that's going around the 5th. One guy's trending up, one guy's trending down. They might end up around the same fantasy points this season. So using a 3rd round pick on a guy like Zeke when you could get an AJ Dillon in the 5th round, I think that's not the right move. Dave, talking to you.
Do you honestly think in your heart of hearts that Zeke and AJ Dillon are going to score the same amount of points this year?
I think that if you look at what they did last year,
I'm just asking you a question, not about last year. I'm talking about this year.
You'd be very hard pressed. to like think that Zeke is actually going to do better than AJ Dillon this year.
You're okay.
I think
I'm laughing also because Bailey thought he had dibs on the Cowboys break.
Yeah, right, Bailey. That is
Bailey.
hilarious. So where am I at? Oh yeah. So the do not draft list, you have to make one, because what this does is it allows you to be like, you know what? When McCaffrey goes, it's like, thank God. When Zeke goes, it's thank God. When all these people are drafting quarterbacks in the second and third round, it's like, thank God, because it allows you to get your players that you'd like later. Then I want to talk a little bit about where to draft your quarterback. I know
that's one of my questions. How soon for a quarterback?
How soon on the quarterback? This is one of the age-old questions in fantasy. To me, I think I've never really felt good about my draft when I reach on a quarterback, because it's not
define reach.
Like I took Lamar Jackson post MVP season in the third round.
So did I.
Right. And then in that very same draft,
I had a back-to-back.
In that very same draft, Josh Allen went in the 13th.
I think that's happened to my brother.
Right.
I think that's actually what happened.
Aaron Rodgers was going in like the 15th
Mahomes.
round. He won the MVP that year. So there's a lot of value late at the quarterback position because everybody's got one. And when you draft your second quarterback, if he's good luck trading him. So the reason why I like to punt on quarterback, and I say this, when I say punt, I don't mean punt. There could be a time in the 6th round when you're like, you know what, this guy I have in the tier 2, right? There's no way he should be here still. And like, you're just like, you know what, I'm going to go against the grain because there's good value at receiver in the middle rounds. But the way I draft, I would like to have 3 running backs and 3 receivers, or 4 running backs and 3 receivers after the 6th round, 7th round.
Circling back to your do not draft.
Okay.
James Rube has Christian McCaffrey overall number 1. Have at it.
I mean,
have at it. I mean, it's just
based on what?
Exactly. Like
based on what?
Where is your analytics? Where is your stats? Where is your health report that's going to say that this guy hasn't crushed fantasy owners for multiple years?
And everybody's saying, like, who else do they have? And that's like my point. They do have DJ Moore. That's somebody. But who else is going to get the ball out of the backfield? Chuba Hubbard, right? Like, he's proven that he's at least viable. Even if McCaffrey does stay healthy all year, the way that they're going to keep McCaffrey healthy all year is going to be to limit his usage a little bit. I can't see McCaffrey holding up. He might be like a stud in the couple games that he plays, but it's pending. Like, the McCaffrey injury is pending. And I don't, for one split second, think that James Rube is going to take McCaffrey first overall. Not for one split second.
McCaffrey, Kyle's saying if he is healthy, he's going to get like 1,000 touches. Maybe they will run him into the ground. I don't know. To me, I don't think that's.
It's not realistic.
Right. It's not realistic.
It's not realistic.
It's like he's a stub toe away from fucking 6 weeks out. It's weird with him.
The idea.
And don't get me wrong, I like the kid. I actually like him coming out of college, and it was fun to watch. And I'm just like, this guy's going to be electric, and he is when he's healthy. But like, you don't have enough of a sample size to say CMC is your clear-cut number 1 guy this year. Like, you just don't. A guy like Jonathan Taylor, who I have, and I'll go over this later, but like I took 3 mock drafts from good sources. Taylor is there's no questions. There's no way. And he's been there for a year.
I don't think that James Rube is taking he's definitely not taking. Who the fuck are we even talking about?
McCaffrey.
McCaffrey, that bum. I already forgot about him already. He's not taking McCaffrey over Jonathan Taylor.
Okay.
Not gonna happen.
I have questions.
Yes.
Guru. You're the 12. And I'm not saying you're the 12. I know you're dangerous from the 12 spot. I get all that for the dynasty leagues, right? But like, you're the 12. I'm talking about positions. Are you a stack 2 position guy at 12, or are you a split them and then figure it out? Like, are you solidifying your running back tandem at 12 and 13, or are you like, I'll take the best running back and I'll take the best receiver available?
It depends how the first round goes. Look, it used to be first round heavy on running back, and it still is in large parts. But right now, you're seeing maybe 3 or 4 receivers going in the top 12.
Yes, you
right?
are.
Cooper Kupp, Jonathan, Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and then Devontae Adams are all sneaking, some of them in the first round. I think Devontae goes mid-second round this year, but nonetheless, there's some receivers that are going fairly early. And I pointed out last year's running backs that all went in the top 8. They almost all got hurt or had bad seasons. You looked at a Jonathan Taylor. You looked at certain other guys that were drafted later. I mean, Derrick Henry got hurt. He was really good early, but it didn't pay off in the end. So there is a little bit more of risk when you take a running back because of the amount of injuries and because a lot of these guys just aren't bell cow backs anymore. They're in a platoon, and I say platoon. They're in a timeshare at running back. They're sharing carries.
Well, that was another one of my questions. Being that, like, thinking about it, like logistically, being that there's 32 starting running backs, even though it's a most, like, I don't think there's any more bell cows. Like, even
no, there is. There's Najee Harris is one, Jonathan Taylor's one. Like, there is 2
out of 32.
Huh?
What?
Derrick Henry's a bell cow.
Yeah, fine. 3 out of 32. So realistically,
I could find more.
I mean, there's definitely more.
You know, Joe Mixon.
There's always there's always a third down back that's viable in Cincinnati.
Yeah,
always.
but they're not getting many carries. Like, you know, Perrine.
I'm not saying
will get targets.
They're cutting into all his targets, but I'm just saying, or to carries. But I'm saying 32 starting running backs, 64 starting receivers. Does that weigh into your options? Does that weigh into your strategies, considering how deep receivers are? Because every team technically has 2, sometimes 3 guys that are going to get the ball. So, like, what I'm asking is, are you a volume guy, knowing that you're going to get that one guy at running back, or get a guy like I don't know, like a
volume of targets guy? Like, if you're going to get the ball thrown your way a lot, yes, I'm high on you. But as far as what you're asking, there's receivers right now that have RB1 value. You know, like it's a passing league, and Jamar Chase is every bit as good as any guy, and he's going to be every bit as important to your fantasy team that a running back will be. It's just a matter of which way do you like to go about it. And where do you think the value is late? The reason why I typically tend to not go super heavy on receiver in the first 2 rounds is because there's a lot of talent at receiver late, where running back talent is a little harder to find. And as far as free agent values go throughout the season, it's very seldom that you see a receiver come out of nowhere and become viable as an option, because there's so many drafted late as flyers. Running backs, opportunities, injuries create opportunities, and you could end up adding a running back a little bit easier. The Elijah Mitchells of the world, I did James that last Robinsons year. Of the world over the past couple of years, where you could, even Nick Chubb, when he got traded, or when who was it that got traded mid-season to the Texans, and Nick Chubb inherited the job? Was it Duke Johnson?
Duke Johnson's been around, but
he was on Cleveland, got traded,
and
then and Nick Chubb ended up getting the job, and I picked
before
him up
Hunt
free agency.
Got there.
Yeah. So there's a bunch of guys that you could end up adding at running back because of the opportunities get created through injury. Receiver, there's not many guys that, outside of like a Tim Patrick, is the one that jumps out at me. Amon-Ra St. Brown last year, where once they get a situation where they're able to get a little more targets, they're worth it.
All right. So I'm going to go and show you 3 mock drafts. One being NBC Sports staff, one being Pro Football Network staff, one being CBS Sports staff. The clear-cut number 1 running back, or number 1 pick, is Jonathan Taylor. Everybody's touting that he's going to just kind of pick up where he left off last year and do his damn thing. Bulk carries, bell cow, new quarterback, which means people are going to have to respect the pass a little more with the emergence of Michael Pittman Jr. and company. I think they drafted the kid too. But like, the Colts are going to be a good offense, and Jonathan Taylor is going to
flyer on Alec Pierce for
that's
rookie of the year.
All right, so here is the across the way in 3 of these drafts. 2 of them took Austin Eckler 2nd overall. Are you okay with that? Because I mean, like, again, injury bug.
Bro, I've been avoiding Eckler for years, and I've been paying the price for it for years, because Eckler is another case in point of a guy that was probably drafted back into the 1st round, early 2nd round, much like Jonathan Taylor, and they outplayed all the guys that were drafted above them last year. So you would eventually imagine that the wheels will fall off on Austin Eckler, but he's just really good in a really good system with a really good offensive line and a coach that's willing to use him in innovative ways. I'm high on Eckler this year for the first time, and maybe I'll pay the price for it. But yeah, Eckler at 2, I'm not so sold on.
So
I'd go
according
Najee
to
Harris over him.
Pro Football Network, McCaffrey goes 2 overall. That was the other 2nd spot. 3, there is a no consensus here. Talk about it. Ask me if this is a reach. Pro Football Network's 3rd overall pick was Cooper Kupp.
I mean, he had 145 catches last year. They added Allen Robinson in place of Robert Woods, and no Odell to speak of for the time being. So his targets are going to be there. Yeah.
McCaffrey goes
Cooper Kupp. You're not going to go wrong with a Cooper Kupp.
McCaffrey goes CBS Sports number 3. Over 3 overall for NBC Sports. Derrick Henry going as high as 3. Are you at all concerned about any kind of health with him this year?
Yes, but
I mean, his carries are ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm big on Derrick Henry because he's a beast. And he's the one guy, I said it going into last year, that he's like the AP, where he's going to buck the trend of getting too much usage. But he did bust up his list, Frank?
Yes.
It's not a great injury, but he came back that year. So maybe he's got it past him, and he is a beast in the workout room.
The aforementioned Christian McCaffrey, the latest he goes is 4th overall. Yeah, 4th overall is the latest he goes at NBC Sports. 4th overall, we just talked about Henry. We just talked about Cup before. The 5th one, this is as high as I'm seeing Najee Harris at 5. That's a good one. I think this
like
kid, he's in line for a really good. I'm as confident in Najee Harris's volume that I would take Najee Harris if I was the number 2 guy. I would take Najee Harris 2nd overall. I
worry a little bit about Pittsburgh having the quarterback to stretch the field and get defenses to respect him a little bit. So Najee Harris is going to have to deal with a little bit of extra bullshit in the box. But Najee Harris is just a stud, and they are going to use the shit out of him this year. So I'm big on Najee Harris.
Across the board, and then the other picks were Henry and Eckler. We talked about him already. Across the board, no consensus in the 6th pick overall. NBC took Dalvin Cook. Pro Football Network took Justin Jefferson, and CBS Sports with Joe Mixon.
I think the points
is Mixon too high?
Yes, the points that we're all making here, or that I'm getting from this, is that it's a very scattered first round. You're going to see this. I've done 25 mock drafts, and it's all over the place. It's really hard to get a gauge. So what I'm kind of doing is letting it dictate. I have a strategy, but then I have a fallback plan too. Obviously, that's what you got to do when you're drafting. But as we go through the first round, it really is going to be, if you're picking at the back end, you have to take the best available guy and then employ your strategy after that. It could be the best available player at any position, or you could be like, I'm taking the best available running backs. I'm taking 1 running back, 1 receiver. It also depends on, know your league. If there's a 2 receiver league, I think it takes so much importance away from the receiver position, because even if you're doing a 12-man league with 1 flex, there's way more than 34 or 36 good receivers and running backs to be tossed into the flex position. So
I won't keep going like in order, but like things that pop out at me based off these drafts, the highest I see a Jamar Chase is 7th overall. So that's, again, volume.
Diggs. When do you start seeing
ready
Diggs
for this? Stephon Diggs.
Receiver off the board, probably.
Stephon Diggs, I only did 1 first round. 2 of these, 1 draft, he's not in the first round.
No, he shouldn't be in.
Well, he's 12th in Pro Football Network and CBS Sports. He's the 12th overall pick. So if you're sitting there at 12 and you have a chance to land Stephon Diggs, is that a value play based off of everybody else who's fell?
No fucking way.
Okay.
I do like Diggs, but not at 12.
The farthest Cooper Kupp drops looks like is 8th overall. Your boy Mixon, like I said, 6th is early, but then he's fallen to 9th over here at Pro Football Network. So that's okay. Harris falling all the way to 10 in Pro Football Net. That is a goddamn steal if I ever saw one. Harris falls to 11 on CBS Sports. So that's huge. Question mark here, or question for you. In these 3 drafts, with everything that we know about these players and looming suspensions, Kamara falls to 10th overall in NBC, but nowhere to be found in the other ones.
Yeah, he's off. He's not on my list.
He ain't on my list either.
I'm not taking Alvin Kamara.
All right.
There's just too much up in the air. And while he'll probably come back, and he might be one of those guys that helps you win a league because you get him late, but I'm not going to be the guy that he helps.
Are you taking any Saint? Are you looking at any Saints? Maybe
Jameis Winston in like the 15th.
Maybe their defense.
Maybe.
Which I'll get to in a second.
I see one guy out here. I see one guy here on 2 of the drafts. Once he goes 9th overall, and another one he goes 11th overall, and that's Travis Kelce. Are you willing to draft a guy that high?
No, I made that mistake last year and it fucked me. So I'll never take a tight end that early. Ever. And
then the only other thing that jumps off the charts, we talked about Diggs already at 12. A 12th overall pick from NBC Sports. This will be the last one I do. Deebo Samuel. In the top 12. First round pick in fantasy this year. Deebo.
No.
Okay.
Not happening.
Interesting.
So
go ahead.
Get back into a couple of the strategies, and I'm noticing how Rube, says these things like McCaffrey 1 overall, and while I don't agree with him, I like the strategy that he's employing though, because you cannot get married to these pre-draft rankings set by other people, because they're literally just other people. It's their opinions collectively, and you have to know that what you're doing the work as well. And I like what Rube does, because he's made comments before that are a little outlandish, but you have to do that shit. You have to say, be willing to go out on a limb, because you're going to take a risk in certain points in fantasy, and it's going to have to pay off. And when you take risks, it doesn't pay off, but some risk assessment needs to, and some luck has to fall into play. But my major advice is to don't get married to the lists. And when you go into your draft room, sort it by ADP instead of the pre-draft rankings, because it'll give you a better
kind of what I do too.
It'll give you a better pulse as to where guys are going.
Right.
And don't be afraid to reach on your guy if you're picking, because 25 picks go by sometimes, or 24 picks. There's no guarantees that you're going to get your guy because he's, 25 picks later. And also know the draft. Like when you're looking at, if you're picking 9th, right, or you're picking 10th, and there's the 11th and the 12th pick after you, and you're like, I need a quarterback right here, right? And it's going past. They're going to both pick twice, and you're looking at their team in the 9th round, and they both have a quarterback. Guess what? Don't pick the fucking quarterback right there, because the odds are neither of those two guys are gonna. So you block them and take one of the players that they might, and it goes back. And that happens all too often where people just don't pay attention to what's happening in their own draft. And also know that you're drafting with a Cowboys fan. Know that you're drafting with a Jets fan.
Sure.
Know that you're drafting with. So just do
the
little recon.
Know the room. Yeah. No, listen. Last year I went very Cowboys heavy, and last year the Cowboys had the best offense statistically in football. So therefore, guess what? I cleaned up. I went all the way to the finals and lost because that's what happens. But I had Dak, I had Zeke, I had Lamb, I had Schultz, I had I had the Cowboys defense, bro. So I had 6, 7 guys sometimes starting in 1 week. The only ones I would rotate out sometimes would be Schultz and sometimes other guys. But the Cowboys offense was great.
So I want to make a point about this comment that Rob brought up. You have to draft the best players available. If you believe in a guy, ADP doesn't matter. And now I agree.
Shout out to Custom Motor Gear. Please like and subscribe, my man.
ADP does not matter when it comes down to where they're going to finish in the rankings for the season. But ADP matters significantly when you look at where you think they might get drafted. And the way other people are looking at it is they might get drafted here because of their ADP. So if a guy's ADP is 78, right, and I'm picking at 68, and it doesn't come back to me for 20 picks, reach on the guy and take him at 68, because you're not going to get him past that. So don't be afraid to go out on a limb a little bit. And knowing the ADP is important for what I said. Other people look at it. So you have to know based on that.
How high do you take a defense?
That was my next point. So
it's like we know each other.
I punt on defense, and I don't take a kicker into the last round no matter what. I punt on defense typically during the draft because I just think there's too much value. And
if you have to draft one, though, when do you draft them?
If it's a rule. I wait until the very last. Usually I could end up nabbing the Packers late and then hope for a flyer. But here's what happens in fantasy football throughout the year. I know people bash me for this, but I load up on defenses on my bench once the bye week ends, and I block other people. Once bye weeks are over, I'll have 3 or 4 Ds on my bench, and they're all good. And people drop their defenses on bye weeks because they don't want to carry a backup. So you can collect good defenses throughout the season if you're smart.
I did that last year.
And it pays off. Knowing your league matters. So if the defenses give you a lot of points, then having the number 1 to 5 defense will definitely help. But as far as draft strategy, I kind of avoid it.
Rube says streaming, not steaming.
Yeah.
I'm assuming streaming
But
defense. He also said after round 6, ADP doesn't matter. Just reach away. Do your thing.
I agree to a degree.
But yeah, so anyway, it's going to be an interesting month because we're getting closer, man. We're getting closer to some mock drafts. We're getting closer to some actual drafts. It's going to be a lot of fun. Do you got anything else on the fantasy front? I don't want to but yeah, there is it's funny. I keep looking at the comments real quick.
I do have one last thing. Okay. Don't fucking look at bye weeks. That's I think it's the biggest myth in fantasy football to be like, oh, I can't draft this much better player because he has the same buy as my other running back.
Here's the thing. I always look at it like this. It's funny you say that. I never do until the end of the draft. I'm like, oof, I'm losing week 7. But that's it. I'm not saying oh, I drafted terribly because I didn't look at the buys.
Chances are, depending on who you're playing, they might have a bye week 7, and you can still put together a win. I've done it before where I've actually looked at bye weeks for the specific reason of drafting as many guys as possible on the same bye. So I can just be like, you know what, that week, I don't give a fuck. And I ended up winning that week anyway.
Yeah, sometimes it happens. Sometimes the ball bounces that way. But yes, we're getting close. But yes, I do want to point out that there is a legitimate fight happening within the comments between Hawaii, Florida Mike, and Kyle Kerms.
Yes.
I think if I'm reading it correctly, it's all about the amount of touches that Christian McCaffrey's gotten under both Ron Rivera and Matt Rule significantly different.
Kyle is saying that.
So you've been paying attention.
Oh, of course I have. Kyle is saying that Christian McCaffrey's got way more touches under Matt. He gets more usage under Matt Rule, and
he's been with Matt Rule for a year.
James is coming in saying that, or in Hawaii, Mike's coming in saying that he's got more touches than Rivera. They're both coming in with numbers. Like you just said, Mike just said the same thing. You only had him for a year. Kyle's saying it doesn't matter. He's just Kyle's showing the touches. And Kyle's pointing what I've read, I think Kyle's right. From just the numbers.
Oh, so the decision has been made, and 49, 48.
Kyle said there's no fight. Dude just said some blatantly incorrect information.
I love this shit. This is why we choose violence on a Friday.
How much do you think he's going to get used this year when he's on the IR?
Zero touches on the IR.
He came in before and said you can't predict injuries. And I was like,
that was Rube. Yeah,
you could predict by week 3.
No, I mean, listen, and that's the same thing. We haven't touched.
We've talked,
but we haven't touched on
any one of these guys could get hurt, but one guy always does. And that's
it's called a track record and a health record. Like we've seen what happened to McCaffrey. We all made the joke. Like, yo, Julio's going to be awesome with Tom Brady for the first 2 weeks. And then that's it.
Bro,
like,
I had a
Julio
conversation
fall
the
off.
other day, like, about being injury prone, right?
It's a thing.
I get injured a lot, right? So, like, I feel that would be a knock on me if I ever made it to another level of playing anything that they would have been able to justifiably say, you know what, bro, you're always fucking hurt.
Every time I put him in left field, he just dives for no fucking reason.
Like, there is something to be said for it. I feel like, if I run into the wall, I'm going to break something.
James Rube coming in saying, I legit think CMC is the obvious first overall pick.
Okay. I mean,
look, when he's on the field and he's doing things, he is probably the most electrifying player in football. The problem is, do you have him in week 7
through 10? The risk outweighs the reward for me.
Bailey's asked this question a couple of times, but he wants to know how to determine a draft throw besides pulling from a hat. We're trying to find something interesting.
Bailey, I'll send you a link. I'll send you a link, bro. I got the best thing. It's the Fantasy Nerds, I believe.
Biggest wiener.
I'll send you a link.
Goes last.
Jesus Christ. Did anybody say that or you just said that? Jesus Christ. Everybody drop your drawers. We'll figure it out.
Coming in from Dr. Rube.
Injury prone is not a thing.
I mean, it definitely is.
It definitely is. If you've broken more things than you haven't, like I tore my ACL in 2014. It still crunches. I still worry. Like that's a thing. It's a past injury. Those things don't go away. People retire early because of concussions, because there's multiple. Like that happens. It's a thing.
Bailey coming in, please not biggest wiener. Real quick, did you guys see what the owner of the Minnesota Vikings said about Kirk Cousins?
Ziggy Wolf?
He
said, so they asked him something.
No, there was the GM.
Was it the GM? About he was like, well, we don't have a Patrick Mahomes or a Tom Brady.
No, he didn't.
It's something like that. I'll pull it up right now.
Oh, no.
I mean, they don't.
No, he was
fine, but you don't do that. You don't.
I'll get it.
Like, we got a great quarterback.
Year,
I mean,
first year
Mahomes,
year GM learning on the job.
Last year GM too, because that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. Oh, I feel bad. But Kirk Cousins does stink, according to me. Numbers, yes. Here comes Kyle. And there's a million numbers to prove that he's a serviceable quarterback.
Makes my my list of guys that you could stream or not stream, but like if you miss out on a QB early,
Casey
Carr, Cousins, Stafford,
biggest wiener gives a whole new meaning to the snake draft. That dude is a funny
worm draft. We're having a worm draft. No snake.
No snakes in this draft.
He said the one asset where you get nervous about not burning it down is quarterback. We don't have Tom Brady. We don't have Patrick Mahomes.
All right.
That's what he said.
That's rough. Did you hear your boy, Mike McCarthy, say yesterday in his press conferences, defense wins championships, but quarterback wins Super Bowls? I was like,
what?
I'm trying to decipher it. I'm like, it's either really deep or dumb. I can't figure it out, but seems to me like defenses will help you get there.
In this case, isn't it is he really being like defenses win you the conference, but the quarterback wins you the whole thing?
Might be.
Because in technical terms, the championship.
There's a free bet. Free bet alert. Hold on. Free bet alert. Here it is. Kyle, hit it, bro. Like I'm assuming it's baseball. Unless he has no, he said underdog bet, so I'm assuming it's baseball. Susan, Black Mamba, #1 overall.
So Kyle wants to call in. That's what he's saying.
Oh, I don't have the ability right now. Actually, we do. I mean, I would have to throw on the IFBs and hook them up if you want to do that real quick. Do it. Fuck it. Call in, Kyle. Give me the.
Did you see my my lack of movement?
Show.
You're like, if you want to do that real quick,
Drop the link in the comments for him to call in. I'm very curious to know. It's like unreal all this shit.
He's just gonna type it.
All right, then type it away. Here we go. Damn it. All right. Well, we should just be wearing the IFBs anyway.
I don't know how to put that link in.
That's
anyway.
fine. It's fine.
When are you getting the headphone connector?
I have. Oh, the headphone
I'm curious
connector. I got to get a new
which statement Rube agrees with.
What?
When I see Rube in
Rube's
person,
agreeing.
me and him are like best buds, but on the internet, I just fucking me and him go at each other. God damn it!
I want to talk to.
What's going on with you?
I want to talk to Blarney's bar in the Garden Rube. I want that Rube. I want the old Stone Cold. I don't want this internet Rube. Internet Rube just like dissects everything that I say, and it's so upsetting. Kyler, 20-1 MVP.
I mean, it is pretty good odds. He was in the running like week 10 last year.
And then they fall off, just like the Cardinals always fall the fuck off. So no, I'm not giving you any kind of odds for Kyler Murray to win MVP. The guy doesn't study.
What are the odds? What are the odds for Alec Pierce to win Rookie of the Year?
Probably like based off of the top of the draft and some of the talent that went, he's probably in the hundreds.
I think it's over a good bet, man. Like if you look at the number 2 receivers that Matt Ryan has made throughout his entire career, every year Matt Ryan has a good number 2.
Rube says Internet Rube is a great guy. And according to our intern Nick,
plus 3,000.
All right. Wow.
That
Shit.
was May 19th.
Our intern Nick coming in. Saquon Barkley wins comeback player of the year. Shut the fuck up.
No, it's Derrick Henry.
Anyway, here's Kyle's
free bet.
He's
going to win
for the day. Cincinnati first 5 money line plus 108 and Cincinnati money line plus 110. People's still thinking Baltimore is hot. 5-5 their last 10. Cincinnati's 10-6 in their last 16. Minor is having a better July than Kremer, and public is on Baltimore. Take the Reds, and wow, okay, naked sex. Okay, we're all over this.
You talked about Wiener one time on the show.
Wow, that's wow.
And look what happened.
Look at the analytics just hammering that home. So anyway, appreciate you checking in, Naked Sex XYZ best adult dating site. But hey, listen, like the video too while you're at it. Anyway, big time bet there by Kyle. So if you're on the Reds today, win some money.
Get off your bird.
No scoop today. Where you at, bro? That's upsetting. He actually, it's funny. He texted me yesterday or 2 days ago. He's like, he said something about the show around 3:00. And he's like, I didn't make the show today. I'm actually doing work. I'm like, well, that's unfortunate. So
it's disrespectful.
In any event, that's been a show.
So comeback player of the year has got to be McCaffrey.
It's Zeke, obviously.
Right?
I mean, for so many reasons.
It should always be McCaffrey.
So a guy that played all 17 games and just sucked. I don't think he qualifies.
It's a comeback. Don't call it a comeback. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Por favor, please like the video if you've been here, if you're here late, if you just get here now, or if you just get here later and it's 4:00 and you started to watch the video, like it then. So we appreciate it. Helps Chop Sports and the entire company. Don't sleep on Saquon. I'm going to sleep on Saquon all day long. I mean, I walked into that one. But anyway,
it wasn't too bad.
No Saquon Barkley for me, folks. In fact, I actually listened to Boomer and Gio coming on in today, and they said, or it wasn't Gio, it was whatchamacallit? Why can't I think of his name? Anyway, Boomer had said that after this year, no matter what, the Giants are going to have to move on from one of them, and my assumption is they move on from both. Because they're both on a contract year, technically. Daniel Jones and Saquon Barkley are not on a contract year, but like in the midst of a contract, you got to get it done after this year. So interesting. All right. Of course you are. Tim Riley. Don't know what he's talking about. AJ's in Pittsburgh being useless. Oh, what are you going to do? I need guests for tomorrow and Sunday. Chris and Dave, you want to each pick a day? Oh, for the live show? Yeah. I mean, hit me up. I could jump on. I am actually might be here tomorrow, depending on what time you do. I think me and Wrestling Rob are gonna watch some SummerSlam here at the studio. And also, if you're a pro wrestling fan and you want to go to Newark on a Friday night, I don't make the rules. I don't book the shows, but there is a show tonight, free show at the Boylan Rec Center at 7:30. I'll be on the stick. I'll be doing the old ring announcing for the first time in a very long time because I'm usually just doing play-by-play commentary, but I'll be doing that tonight. Got my voice back, sorta, I guess. How do I sound today? Do I sound a little better than yesterday?
A little better, yeah.
A little better, right? So I'll shut up after this show, and then I'll just go drink some water and gargle some salt water and shit. So for Sturch, Gooch, Wrestling Rob, thank you guys for everybody in the chat. Again, like the video, subscribe. Have a great weekend. We'll see you guys on Monday. Let's see if there any trades go down this weekend. It'll be interesting. So until then, we'll see you there.
Peace.
Peace.